In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the Novablast 4, how I found it as a heavier runner, would I recommend it, the pros, the cons, the specification. So let's get stuck into it. So if you're watching this video, you've probably heard of the Novablast 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 5. I have not ran in the Novablast 5. However, I have spent a lot of time in the Novablast 4. This is actually my second pair of them. So I think I'm pretty well equipped to give you my honest opinion. Talking specifically about the Novablast 4 in terms of specification, obviously this is a shoe based for road running. It has a heel drop of around 88 millimeters. The weight is approximately 260 grams, but of course, depending on the size of your feet, it will vary. ASICS suggests that this is a neutral shoe and it has max cushioning, as you can probably see from the stack height. So in terms of that stack height, the heel is 41.5 millimeters and the forefoot is 33.5 millimeters. So this shoe compared to the Novablast 3 has the FF Blast Eco foam. I can't comment on what it's like compared to the old foam, as I've only ran in these ones. But ASICS say it offers a premium cushioning and responsive feedback from when you hit the road. The upper on this shoe has a woven upper that improves breathability and comfort, and the way they've designed the tongue actually reduces the way it moves on your foot, and to be fair, it does work really well. So now let's go into the wear and tear of this shoe, as I've accumulated a shit ton of miles in them. I actually did a charity ultra marathon in them where I ran 100 miles in 24 hours, and this shoe did a majority of that work alongside another pair of ASICS. So as a bigger guy, the first bit of wear and tear that I see is that on the bottom of the shoe, there is a fair amount of wear on the middle of the shoe, okay? And I noticed this from the beginning, okay? So from my first few runs, I don't know if it's the way I land, but I don't know what this has come from. You can see the wear on the heel. I've worked massively on being like a mid striker. When to see kind of wear and tear around the heel probably makes me think that when I've kind of gone off curves, I've scuffed it. However, as a bigger guy, there probably is a lot more wear and tear on the sole of the shoe as someone who's lighter. Of course, that doesn't impact the shoe's responsiveness, its performance overall, but just something to note that if you are heavier and potentially if you're a heel striker, you might actually get some more wear and tear than someone else. In terms of the upper has survived very well. Obviously, like I said, it's going to have some stains, but there's never been a hole in them. My toe has never worn through. It survives the scuffs, the bangs, the chucking in the back of the car, the chucking under the stairs. It's been through a lot, and to be fair, if you put this through the washing machine on a cold wash, I guarantee it would come out brand spanking new with not many stains on it. In terms of its feel when I've been running in it, it doesn't necessarily give me as much responsiveness as I think everyone talks about, okay? Of course, this shoe is a great shoe to be able to do a lot of your runs in. Obviously, it's marketed as a daily trainer, but I do find myself going into tempo runs, maybe threshold runs, some track nights where I will use this shoe because ultimately, I don't have the budget to be able to spend on 8 different shoes that I'm going to have within my rotation. So having one shoe that can do quite a lot of that work is an absolute staple in my shoe rotation. So now let's talk about how I have been using this shoe and the previous shoe within my weekly mileage. So I've been using this shoe mainly for my easy runs and also using it as a shoe that I'm going to take to my tempo runs, my threshold runs, and I've crammed some interval sessions in with it. What I think about it is that it is a very versatile shoe. It gives you good cushioning so that you can go at slower paces. However, it can also kick on if you really need it to. So overall, it's a great all-round shoe. If you were looking at a shoe that can do lots of different things, I would say the Novablast is an absolute staple for most people. It allows you the flexibility to go a little bit faster, but also gives you that max cushioning, and the foam itself, touch wood, I haven't got any injuries from. So now I'm going to talk about what I like about this shoe. And very similar to what I said in the would I use this shoe again, there is tons to like about this shoe. There isn't really much wrong with it, apart from what I'm going to speak about in a second, but the shoe gives you an option for every type of run that you're doing, probably apart from race pace. It's affordable, it has some pretty cool colorways if you want to stand out, it's readily available, and it has stood the test of time in a sense that each Novablast range, although I haven't ran in the Novablast 5, has theoretically developed on the last one. They listen to the feedback of the customers and their athletes, and they create a different version majority of the time. So what don't I like about this shoe? So it definitely is a heavier shoe, and considering I am a heavier guy already, it's very hard to pick up the cadence in this shoe. Again, that could be that I am just a terrible runner. However, I am trying to get my cadence up to that kind of elusive 180 steps per minute. I have very much struggled in this shoe. When I turn over to my carbons, I can potentially turn my feet over quicker. I can get that pop, I can get the responsiveness. Again, it could be that I am a terrible runner and I need to get better. However, I've been unable to necessarily get my cadence going, whether that's the weight of the shoe, whether that's the pop of the shoe. I am not good enough to understand which one it is. However, I haven't been able to get my cadence up in this shoe. Another negative that I've seen in a lot of reviews, and I actually did experience myself, was it is very poor when it's wet. So the shoe squeaks a lot. I've used it on track sessions, and there has been points in track sessions where I've almost had to slow down on the bends just because I'm not feeling like it's giving me that max grip that another shoe might be able to give me. Of course, a track is slippery regardless of the situation, especially if there's standing water on top of it. However, I would have thought there would be a little bit more grip in the little rubber sole, so that you can essentially get more grip and more turnover off of them. And as I said at the start of the video, like for me as a bigger guy, like seeing your shoe wear out like that when you spent 140 pounds on it or 135 pounds on it is a bit of a red flag. It doesn't impact the performance. It doesn't change anything. No one's looking at the sole of my shoe. However, I'm looking at it thinking like, how many miles have I got left in this shoe before I need to buy another pair? And of course, for me, as a daily shoe, I'm putting a hell of a lot of miles in it. I would just rather it not wear down like that. So will I keep using this shoe? So I think realistically, just like in my last video with the Adios Pro 4s, the Novablast probably will be a staple for me. I've very much moved away from brands that I was using towards Asics just because I gave them a try. I got a really good response from them. I was able to accumulate a shit ton of miles in these shoes without injury. Of course, I could have been just becoming a better runner, but these shoes really do fit well for people who don't have the budget to be able to buy lots of different shoes for different types of run, are trying to get into running without, again, having to buy lots of different shoes, and they're pretty easily accessible. They never really run out, and affordability, like the price point of this shoe is very good, very competitive, and the shoe covers all bases. Of course, if you're trying to run sub 3 marathons, you're probably not going to be doing a race day in this shoe, but I would argue for very much beginners, you could probably get through a marathon in this shoe. I've done ultra marathons on roads in this shoe, so it's very much the case of like making sure that you pick the right shoe for your budget, your rotation. Will I continue to use it? Probably. I haven't really ventured into trying to replace this shoe yet, which I think shows its versatility within a running rotation. So if you have got this far into this video, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts about the Novablast 4s or the 5s. You might completely disagree with me. Let's have it in the comments. But stay tuned, because there's tons more content to come on this channel.